Hello everybody, Aaron the Nintintrovert here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing the future of Amiibo. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Aaron, my good man, what on God's pink earth is an Amiibo? Well, let me tell you, Charlie. So, Amiibo are a line of figurines that Nintendo began releasing in 2014 back on the Wii U, starting with Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. And yeah, they're these plastic figurines that you can get, and you can scan them into games that are compatible because these are Toys to Life figures. And Toys to Life, that's the same thing as like Skylanders and Disney Infinity, stuff like that that used to be big back in the day. But that fad kind of came and went. But Amiibo have still held strong. Nintendo's still been releasing these things, and evidently they've still been selling like hotcakes because Nintendo's not abandoned them yet. I remember going from the Wii U to the Switch era, everybody was like, oh, this is it. Nintendo's really slowed down on Amiibo production. They're not going to be making any more. Then they announced the Switch, the Nintendo Switch, and that it would be compatible with the same NFC technology. NFC standing for Near Field Communication, which is just the ability to stick one of these bad boys down on a Pro Controller or on your Joy-Con and scan it into the game. But yeah, so then they supported Amiibo all throughout the Switch's generation. And then here, maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, there was like some patents that came out, some documents that showed that the Nintendo Switch 2 would also be compatible with that same NFC technology. So yeah, once again, people up until that point were thinking, oh, Amiibo's dead. They're making less and less with the Switch 2. There's not going to be any more Amiibo. Well, the joke's on them because they're still going strong. Nintendo has since officially confirmed that the Switch 2 will be compatible with Amiibo. And, they've already announced a decent handful of Amiibo coming out in the future. There's going to be a new Tears of the Kingdom wave, which is going to include all of the... I don't know what you call them. I forget. Link's champion assisting people. I guess they're all just champions, right? Link's a champion, and then they're the 4 champions, I think. Or was the champions the ones from 100 years ago with like Rivali and Daruk and all that? I don't know. Anyway, it's Tulin, it's Sidon, it's I think Riju, is that her name? And then, oh god, what's the last one? Oh, Unibo. I hate Unibo. I can't stand that guy. But anyway, so those 4 are all getting an Amiibo. So that's pretty cool. I imagine the Sidon one in particular is probably going to sell really well. And then we're also getting some Street Fighter 6 Amiibo, which is kind of random. I don't think anybody really saw that one coming. But yeah, we're getting like, I think 3, maybe 4. I think it's 3 different characters from Street Fighter that's all getting an Amiibo. I don't know who the characters are because I'm not really much of a Street Fighter guy. I know about, friggin' Ryu and Ken and those people, but it's not them. They already have Amiibo. But anyway, so yeah, Amiibo, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, so I thought it would be fun to do a video discussing just the various Amiibo figurines that I would love to see Nintendo eventually manufacture, because I own a crap ton of them. That's not them back there. That's some other figurines. But on this other shelf that's off camera, maybe I'll include a screenshot of it in this video. But I own like over 100 Amiibo. I think like 110, something like that. I do not spend my money wisely. But yeah, so with all that said, let's just get right into it. I'm going to go down the list, which I have on my phone here. So starting off, we're going to go through the Mario series of potential characters that I think would make great Amiibo. All right, so starting off, I'm a really big fan of the Koopalings. I know there for a while, people felt like Nintendo was kind of milking them a little too much. They were appearing in all the new Super Mario Brothers games, and then some people felt like they took up too many characters on the roster for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And, now I don't know if Nintendo is maybe like overly course correcting on that, because we've really not been seeing the Koopalings a lot here lately. We've not had any sign of them, at least at the time of this recording, being back in Mario Kart World. And they also weren't in Super Mario Brothers Wonder, so I don't know what that means for the future of the Koopalings, but dang it, I want an Amiibo of all these characters. You got Ludwig, Larry, Lemmy, Iggy, Wendy, Roy, Morton. I think I said all of them and didn't repeat any of them, right? If I did, it's a miracle because usually I always leave one of them out. But anyway, Ludwig, he's my favorite. He's got the blue spiky hair. He's got the menacing look in his eye. He's almost got kind of like an Australian or British sort of voice. He'd be like, huh? Oh. Almost makes me think of like Stewie or something. I don't know. But yeah, I love it. Blue's my favorite color. Ludwig's a cool dude. So I want an amiibo of all these characters. I freaking love the Koopalings. They have so much personality. I feel like each one of them stands out. They've got their own color scheme. Roy, he's another good one. He's got like the pink shades on. He's pretty awesome. Larry, I like him. He's got the light blue hair that kind of almost looks like a feather on like a ink quill, like those old pens they would write with back in like the, I don't know, 1600s. Yeah, I want the Koopalings. You know, they're in Smash Brothers. We can talk more about this later as we go on. But I'd really love to just see. Sakurai even kind of alluded to this, but nothing ever manifested of it. Like, you know, it's a real shame that the, you know, alternate characters in Smash Ultimate, like the, you know, the alt costumes, don't have their own amiibo. Nothing really came of that, unfortunately. So no male version of the Wii Fit trainer. I don't think we got a female version of the Pokemon trainer, did we? I don't think that was an amiibo. But yeah, no, like Alf. You know, he was Olimar's alt. I love Pikmin 3, so an Alf amiibo, that would be great. But yeah, we're just sticking to the Mario ones right now. So give me all the Koopalings. And, you know, they can be in their Smash poses where they're all in the Koopa Clown car. That's fine. Or they can have it where it's like full body so you can actually see their feet and everything. Not in a weird way. That sounds kind of weird now that I've said that out loud. Uh, but however they want to go about it, I would be thrilled to death if we got amiibos for all of the Koopalings. Next up on the list, we've got a lot of Mario baddies to go through here. Kamek. Kamek is a long-standing character in the Mario franchise. He is a main antagonist. He's been around since like Super Mario World back in 1990 on the Super Nintendo, so he's as old as Yoshi. They made their debut in the same game, and since then, Kamek has kind of become Yoshi's rival in the same way that Bowser is Mario's rival, and Donkey Kong's got King K. Rool. You know, Captain Toad, he's got Wingo or whatever that bird's name is. And then Peach now has Grape in the Sour Bunch. Yeah, Kamek, he's kind of the main antagonist of all the like Yoshi's Island games, then like Yoshi's Crafted World, Yoshi's Woolly World, all that. And I feel like I kind of talked about this in my predictions / wish list for the next Smash Brothers game, but I feel like Kamek is going to be very important in the Mario universe moving forward. Like in the more recent Mario Party games, he's been kind of the host. He's just been cropping up in a lot of other games. He finally got his debut as a playable character in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the Booster Course Expansion Pass. But the number one reason that I think Kamek is going to be, that Nintendo's going to be putting a much bigger emphasis on him is he had a very prominent role in the first Mario movie, and I imagine that's going to continue with the subsequent movies. We might actually see Kamek get even more screen time in the second movie because we already know that that one's going to be about Yoshi based on the little teaser at the end of the first movie. So yeah, I think Kamek is going to be a very important character. He was really funny, just a great comedic, sidekick for Bowser. Kind of the same way that Dr. Eggman has Agent Stone in the Sonic movies. So yeah, I hope they continue to give Kamek more and more importance. Maybe put him in Smash Brothers. I think he would make a great amiibo. They could do him either like riding on his little broomstick or just standing, holding out his wand or whatever. But that's another really cool one, I think. Also, Birdo. Birdo's even older than Kamek. Birdo's been around since Super Mario Brothers 2 or Doki Doki Panic. We're not going to get into all that. But that was like 1987 when that game came out, I think, something like that, 1988. So Birdo is a pretty old character. She also just recently came back in Mario Kart in the Booster Course Pass. She's also going to be in Mario Kart World. I don't know. Birdo, she's in a lot of games, she is kind of portrayed sort of as Yoshi's love interest. So she's also kind of a Yoshi character, but not really. I don't think she's ever really appeared in any of the Yoshi spin-off games like Yoshi's Island. But still, Nintendo kind of ships them together. Birdo, that'd be another really cool one to have. Then we've also got Dry Bones. Dry Bones has been around since Super Mario Brothers 3, and he's as old as Boo. Boo has an amiibo. They were both debuted in the same game, and Dry Bones, he's had a long-standing history in various Nintendo games, both the 2D and 3D Mario games. He's been playable in Mario Kart for a long time, since Mario Kart DS. That was like back in 2004. And back then, there weren't like a ton of characters, that were in Mario Kart. So as far as characters that were in Mario Kart DS, I could be wrong. Someone correct me, but I feel like Dry Bones might be the only one that doesn't have an amiibo. Because I mean, that game even had you could play as freaking Rob, and Rob has an amiibo. So like, come on, give Dry Bones an amiibo. Um, then also Dry Bowser. Dry Bowser just looks sick. It's just, we've already got Bowser amiibos. There's the Mario series version and there's the Smash series version. But Dry Bowser may as well be his own character. Gruesomely at the end of the first world in New Super Mario Brothers, Bowser falls into the lava, and you see all of his flesh melt off, and then he's just bones. And Mario says, "That's just so nice." Very dark. I don't know how that game got an E rating. Especially considering the ESRB just came out with like the E10 rating, like, I don't know, a year or two before that. But yeah, Dry Bowser has kind of become a mainstay since then, playable in a lot of the Mario spin-offs, like the sports games, and then Mario Kart. And most recently in Mario Kart 8, they introduced this thing where his shell like glows. So I think they could kind of do something there. The Boo amiibo can already light up in the dark. It's like glow in the dark. I think they could do something kind of similar with the Dry Bowser amiibo, where it's got like kind of orange, red, yellow, like flamey colors pulsating through the shell. Maybe it could be like battery operated or something. I don't know. Maybe that would be a little bit outside of the scope of amiibo. But I don't know, some way to make him light up. But if not, either way, it would just be really cool to have a Dry Bowser figurine. He also breathes blue fire instead of the regular Bowser who breathes orange fire. So if they wanted to some way incorporate that, that would also be pretty cool, because again, blue's my favorite color. But moving right along, we have Pauline. It's kind of crazy that Pauline's not had an amiibo yet. Pauline has been around since 1981. She was the OG damsel in distress that you rescue in the Donkey Kong arcade game. So yeah, she kind of fell into obscurity for a while. She was kind of only kept relevant with the Mario versus Donkey Kong games, specifically the ones with the little mini Marios, like on the DS and 3DS, where you'd like swipe the screen and move them around. But nobody really liked those that much. But Nintendo just kept making a million of them. So yeah, for a long time, people just didn't really know who Pauline was. But now she's kind of come back in a much more important role. She was in Super Mario Odyssey, which is the first time she's really been in like a mainline Mario game, excluding like the arcade games. I don't know if you'd really want to consider those mainline Mario games per se. But yeah, she had a prominent role in Mario Odyssey as the mayor of New Donk City. And since then, she's been cropping up in a whole bunch of different Mario games, playable in Mario Kart, and Mario Golf, Mario Tennis. I'm pretty sure they added her to Mario Strikers as well. So yeah, she's been getting around, and I would not be surprised if she gets into the next Smash Brothers game. So yeah, Pauline, make an amiibo of her. I think people would really like that. And speaking of one that I think would be kind of a fan favorite, Egad, Professor Egad from the Luigi's Mansion series. People have been really wanting more representation from Egad for a very long time now. He mostly just appears in the Luigi's Mansion games, but he's also shown up in a couple other places, especially back when Nintendo was a lot more liberal with the Mario IP, which they quit being for a while, but now they're kind of getting there again. Used to he had like a board in, I want to say it was Mario Party 6. He had like a factory or like laboratory themed board. And then he also appeared in some of the Mario RPGs, specifically the Mario and Luigi games. He was in Superstar Saga and ran like this bean cafe. And then he was also more integral to the story in Partners in Time. So yeah, Professor Egad, I think he would make a really cool amiibo figure that a lot of people would want to buy. And also a good candidate to get into, not Smash Brothers. I don't know if he's quite that important, but to get into Mario Kart, because a lot of people would really like to race as him in Mario Kart. And moving on, but still kind of sticking with Luigi's Mansion. Apologies, there's a train passing outside. If you can hear that, I'm just gonna keep trucking because I live in the middle of Cole County, USA. So there's constantly trains. Live right near the train tracks. Anyway, um, but yeah. So I think generally speaking, I get kind of tired of amiibos that are like the same character but just with like a different pose or something, because we've got like a bajillion different versions of Link, and we've got like, a bunch of different versions of like Splatoon. We've got like 5 versions of the Inkling Boy and Inkling Girl. Like, stop, Nintendo, we get it. You've got all these other characters you can choose from, and it just feels like wasted potential when they're just like, oh, here's you know this, like, I don't know, like they had like all the Smash Brothers characters got an amiibo, right? So you got like all the Kirby characters, Kirby, King Dedede, Meta Knight, and then they came out with like a Kirby line of amiibo, but it was like mostly the same ones. It's like, here's another version of Kirby, here's another version of King Dedede, here's another version of Meta Knight. There's no reason to own both of those, There's no reason to own the Mario series version of Mario and the Smash Brothers series version of Mario. So let's stop with all the like duplicates. But with that said, I do think it would be kind of cool if we got one of Luigi with the Poltergust 3000 on his back, or maybe he's like, he's sucking. Everything I say sounds so sus in this video, but yeah, Luigi, he's vacuuming up the ghosts. Maybe you could see like one of the ghosts like getting sucked into his Poltergust, like maybe one of the ghosts from Luigi's Mansion 1, like the common like orange ones that you find all over the place, or maybe like the green one from Luigi's Mansion 2. I don't know. But I think that would be pretty freaking cool. Also, King Boo. We've got an amiibo of the regular Boo. And maybe Nintendo just kind of figures, well, Boo's kind of like a very simple character. There's not a lot to his design. And maybe since they already gave us regular Boo, they're just like, I don't know if there's a point to do King Boo too. But people really like King Boo, and he is different, especially in the Luigi's Mansion games, where he's got more of like a purple tongue, and he's got these like glowing blue eyes. It's kind of creepy looking, and he's got like this big gemstone on his head. But yeah, so I don't know, King Boo, that'd be a cool one to have, another like boss character, because I feel like we don't get a lot of amiibos for like boss characters. So in a similar line of thinking, they could also do like King Bob-omb from Super Mario 64. Or they could do like Goomboss, or the Goomba King that was from Paper Mario, but then he was also in the DS version of Mario 64. So I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more that they could draw from. A lot of the standard Mario enemies, you've got just to kind of rapid fire through a handful of them, we've got Shy Guy. Shy Guy is a very prominent Mario character. How do you not have a Shy Guy amiibo? Meow, meow, meow. They could do Paratroopa, which is like the regular Koopa Troopa, but he's got a red shell and he's got wings. I think that would be different enough that it would make for a cool amiibo and kind of differentiate itself from the regular Koopa. Then you've got the Bob-omb. You've got Cheep Cheep, Blooper, Wiggler. Wiggler might be a little tricky because, I imagine he'd probably be like folded up, kind of like he's sleeping. Because if he was just like fully elongated, once again, everything sounding sus in this video, it would probably just take up a little too much shelf space and be kind of awkward. But Lakitu, that's another one. Have him riding around in his cloud about to throw a Spiny. But yeah, so that's, and then like Hammer Brother, that's another one. Very classic Mario enemy, been around since 1985, so he's one of the OGs. But yeah, there's just like so many possibilities when it comes to Mario enemies. There's probably several I'm not thinking of. Some is like not as important as like, I don't know if I need like a Buzzy Beetle amiibo, even though he is kind of one of the OGs, or like, I don't know, they could maybe do a Chain Chomp. That could be kind of cool. Have like on the amiibo stand, they've got like the little pedestal that he's attached to, and then like the chains going out wrapping around it, and then like, yeah, that could be kind of cool. They've got the Simon Belmont amiibo, which has like his whip chain thing, so just use that. I don't know. But anyway, moving on, some other Mario characters we got here. I said Yoshi because I was looking at Poochie, which is Yoshi's dog in the Yoshi's Island games. I'm not a big fan of Poochie personally, but, they could make a Poochie amiibo. Maybe actually, now that I'm thinking about it, did they have one that was like one of the yarn ones with Yoshi's Woolly World? Because I know that game got a 3DS port that was called like Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World. So maybe they already did one for Poochie. I don't know. If they do, I don't own that one. But Captain Toad, there's already a Toad amiibo, but Captain Toad is kind of his own character with a little more personality. He's got his outfit on. He's got the little headlamp. They could also make that glow in the dark if they wanted to. He's got his little vest and his backpack. And then also Toadette. Why don't they have a Toadette amiibo? She's, been a very important Mario character. She's, playable in Captain Toad. And then she also, she debuted back in Mario Kart Double Dash. And it's kind of become a mainstay since then, playable in a lot of the different spin-off games, like all the sports games and Mario Kart and stuff. She was also in Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door. She would pop up to teach you new moves when you learn this is the spin stomp and this is the ultra hammer. So yeah, get an amiibo of her. Then I've also got down here they could do Queen Grape, which again that's Peach's antagonist in Princess Peach Showtime, and maybe we'll see her in future Mario games or Peach focused games. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the Mario series characters. I've also got down on here we could have different colored Yoshis. I mean, I don't know if I'd buy all of them, but I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that would. I know, again, I said that about Nintendo releasing the same character, but I don't know. I could see that being kind of cute. Collect all the different colors. You got the blue Yoshi, the purple Yoshi, the pink Yoshi, the black Yoshi, the white Yoshi. And in the games, canonically, the black and white Yoshis are really rare. So those could be I hate to support scummy business practices, but if Nintendo wanted any amiibo to be artificially scarce, it would be the black and white Yoshis. But anyway, also said I think it could be kind of cute. I know I said with a lot of characters I get sick of there being duplicates, but I think it could be cool if we got some Mario ones representing different Mario incarnations throughout history. We've got this 8-bit NES one that I showed earlier. If they did one based on Super Mario World where Mario's got his yellow cape and he's riding Yoshi, that could be really cool. We've already got the Cat Mario and Cat Peach for Super Mario 3D World, and then there's also the Wedding Mario and Peach and Bowser from Odyssey. But yeah, I think they could do Tanuki Mario to represent Mario 3. Then they could have one for Mario Sunshine where he's got the short sleeves and he's got FLUDD and he's floating, he's shooting jets of water. That could be really awesome. Super Mario Galaxy, I don't know what they would do for Super Mario Galaxy. They could do maybe a Cloud Mario from Galaxy 2, or they could do I don't know, any number of things. But I think that could be kind of cool. Even though, again, I'm kind of being hypocritical because I said I hate when they do multiple different figurines for the same character because it feels kind of like wasted potential. But representing all the different eras of Mario in the same way that there's all the different Link amiibos that represent different eras of Link. Because at least in the case of Link, they are different characters. Because Ocarina of Time Link is not the same as Toon Link from Wind Waker, and that's not the same as Skyward Sword Link, which isn't the same as Breath of the Wild Link. So I don't know. I think that could be fun. And then the last characters for the Mario series I have listed, probably not going to happen because we would have probably gotten them a couple years ago when the Mario RPG remake came out. But Mallow and Geno, because all the characters in that game have this kind of stubby, toy-like appearance. Geno literally is a toy. He's a kid's doll that he plays with. But yeah, if you look at the official box art and even how they look in game, they look like little, on the Super Nintendo they almost look more like little clay toys. But even in the remake, they've got a very cutesy toy-esque look about them that I think would just lend itself really well to an amiibo. Maybe they're holding out because maybe Geno's going to get into the next Smash Brothers game, and that's when he'll get his amiibo. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that could be pretty cool. And so now we're going to move on, but first I'm going to take a sip of water. This video was sponsored by whatever brand of water this is. Great value, the cheapest one we got. Okay, anyway, moving on. So the next ones here are kind of sort of branches off of the Mario franchise, but we have the Wario series, and WarioWare. Nintendo makes a bajillion of those games. The WarioWare series has a pretty rich cast of characters who each have their own set of micro games. Ashley is kind of, I think, the fan favorite. I know there was like some petitions back in the Wii U days to get her in Smash Brothers. So Ashley, that's a no-brainer amiibo they could do. Then you've also got 9-Volt, Jimmy T, Dribble, Spitz, Orbulon, Cat, Anna, Young Cricket, Master Manus, Dr. Crygor, Penny, Mike. Probably am leaving off a WarioWare character, but I think that's pretty much all of them. But yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. It would be kind of interesting to see. Maybe Nintendo would have a little bit of a difficult time figuring out how to render those characters in 3D for an amiibo, because in the games they're kind of just like 2D animated. But I think they would look pretty good in 3D. You know, I think it would be a lot easier to adapt them into 3D than it would for somebody like, you know, like the Paper Mario characters or something, which are kind of deliberately flat by design. Although with that said, now that I think about it, I think in Game and Wario, I think there were some modes where some of the characters were 3D modeled. I think there was a 3D modeled like Jimmy T in this like snow skiing mini game, and then there was one of like Ashley where you'd have to like tilt the gamepad and she was riding her broom, and I'm pretty sure she was 3D modeled there. So yeah, it wouldn't be impossible. So I think they should do it. If not all the characters, at least maybe a couple of them. Maybe like a Master Mantis amiibo wouldn't sell that well, but like Ashley, 9-Volt, Dribble, Jimmy T, Mona. That might be who I forgot. I don't think I had Mona on this list. But I think like those five, or at the very least Ashley and 9-Volt, I think are like the two that would probably sell the best. But anyway, moving on. Well, also for the Wario series, not WarioWare, but Wario Land, which are more of the actual like platformers. Captain Syrup, she's kind of Wario's arch rival, I guess. She's a female pirate, very busty with a lot of cleavage showing. Make it an amiibo because Nintendo, that you got a sick audience out there who will buy it for all the wrong reasons. But anyway, so moving on, the Donkey Kong series. You know, how come we don't have a Dixie Kong amiibo yet or a Cranky Kong? Those two just seem pretty obvious. They're both playable characters in Tropical Freeze. They could have made amiibos of them when they ported that game over to the Switch, but that didn't happen. And then also Funky Kong. He's such a fan favorite character. People were like so ecstatic when he got into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because like I remember when you played Mario Kart Wii online, like everybody was playing as Funky Kong. So yeah, people would love an amiibo of him. Then you've also got, you know, like the DK64 characters. You got like Chunky Kong, Tiny Kong, Lanky Kong. Then you've also got like Kitty Kong from Donkey Kong Country 3. Then there's like Candy Kong. There's a lot of different Kongs. I'll be honest, I don't really care about any of them. But I'm sure there's people out there. I feel like the Lanky Kong amiibo would sell really well for the memes. Have him like upside down doing a handstand. Yeah, and then also they could maybe even do some of Donkey Kong's animal buddies. Like Rambi, I feel like would make, you know, that just kind of makes sense as an amiibo. Or they could do Squawks, and there's also like Espresso. I don't really know how you would do On Guard, which is like the swordfish, because like that would just be like another kind of like Wiggler, a very wide one that would take up a lot of space, and it's like an underwater character, so I don't really know how that would work. And then like, you know, I guess Safety Hazard, because where he's got the big pointy nose. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I know Nintendo talked about they wanted to do like one of the R-Wing from Star Fox, which is like Fox McCloud's ship that he flies in, but they couldn't figure out a way to do it that was like safe enough, I guess, because like where the R-Wing has a lot of like sharp like edges and stuff, so maybe they can't do Espresso, I don't know. But I don't know. So there's some Donkey Kong characters. And then they could also do Donkey Kong Jr. if they want to do a deep cut from the arcade days, bring him back. But then moving on, we're going to get into the Zelda series. The Zelda series, I think, has a lot of wasted potential with amiibos. Because, like, again, I don't necessarily mind that there's so many different Link figurines where a lot of them are different incarnations of Link. So almost like the Avatar or something. It's like it's not the same person, you know? It's different versions that existed in different eras that all have their own backstories and stuff. So I'm fine that we've got like a Skyward Sword Link and a Twilight Princess Link. But like, there's also a lot where it's like, okay, so you've got the Smash Brothers version of Young Link, which is from like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But then you've also got the Zelda series version of Majora's Mask Link, which is a little different, where he's like holding a mask, but it's like it's more or less the same thing. I don't love that. I don't love how there's like I think three or more different versions of like Champion Link, which is the Breath of the Wild version. Because like it's the same character. I don't really care that much. You've got the one where he's got his the longer hair and his shirt ripped and he's doing this with his hand. He's got the Ultra Hand or whatever from Tears of the Kingdom. Then you've also got one from Breath of the Wild where he's got the bow and arrow. And then I think there's one where he's riding horseback and he's got his cape up. And there's just a lot of like the same versions of Link. It's like, okay, we get it, Nintendo. 7 out of 10, too many Links. But there's so many other important characters. The characters are probably more important, to the Zelda universe than they are to the Mario universe. So like, probably the most obvious one, not necessarily the one that I want the most personally, but Impa. Impa has been around pretty much since the beginning, and she's probably like the fourth most prominent Zelda character after the main trifecta that hold a piece of the Triforce. Your Link and Zelda and Ganon. Impa would be like number 4. If instead of like a triangle, if it was like 4 pieces of the quadrangle, the square force or whatever, Impa would be the holder of that fourth one. She's always there as Zelda's guardian, I guess you would say. And in some games, she's more of a fighter. She's younger and she's physically fit. In other games, she's much older and she's more of like this wise sage type character. Hopefully they would go with a younger one. I don't really want like the Breath of the Wild version of Impa as an amiibo where she's like a shriveled old lady. But if they go for something kind of like Hyrule Warriors or something, which kind of blended sort of the kind of how she was in Ocarina of Time and Skyward Sword, kind of somewhere in the middle there, where she's more athletic and she's younger. She's still got the white hair, but she's like, not like a shriveled little dwarf that's like 1 foot tall. And then moving on from her, there's a lot of very good female characters in the Zelda universe. So we've got Tetra. Tetra is maybe, well, I don't know. I started to say she might be my most wanted Zelda amiibo, but I don't know. There's a lot that would be cool. But Tetra, she's, first appeared in Wind Waker, and she's also been in, a handful of other Zelda games. She was in, oh gosh, which one was it? Not Spirit Tracks. I don't think she's in that game. I've never actually beat Spirit Tracks. The one before that, Phantom Hourglass. I know she's in that game. But Tetra is a great character. She's kind of snarky, kind of tomboyish, the leader of this gang of pirates. And she's just a really cool character. She acts kind of cold and uncaring at first, but as it goes on, you realize she's got a big heart, and she has an even more important role in the plot that I won't spoil, because frankly, there might be a lot of people that just don't know. Because Wind Waker, it's my personal favorite Zelda game of all time, but it's only been available on the GameCube, which was Nintendo's second worst selling system of all time, and then it was on the Wii U as a remake, which looked beautiful, but that was Nintendo's first worst selling system of all time. So I imagine there's a lot of people that have never played Wind Waker. It's going to be coming out soon on the on NSO. It's going to come to GameCube, Switch Online on the Switch too. So that might be a lot of people's first opportunity to play it. So I won't spoil it here. But Tetra, she's a really cool character. I'd love to have an amiibo of her. She's doing her signature wink that she does. She is one of the best snarky female Zelda characters. Not as good as Midna, but Midna already has an amiibo, so that's why I'm asking for a Tetra amiibo. Okay, moving on. Girahim from Skyward Sword. He's a really cool villain. I've also got on this list Zant. We'll just say him now, throw him out there. I don't like Zant as much. He's kind of whatever. But Girahim, he's pretty cool. He's this kind of creepy, sort of like kind of effeminate. He's very flamboyant, sort of a villain, which is different. It's interesting. Borderline sexually assaults Link though, because he'll just kind of like come up behind him, and Link, I think he's like a minor, isn't he? Like 17 or something, and he'll just kind of come behind him and just rat in his ear, which is a little weird. Girahim, stop doing that. But Girahim, it's kind of funny. I don't really like Girahim's in-game model that much. I think it looks kind of weird. But I really love his like 2D art. So if they make an amiibo of him, I hope it's closer to his 2D artwork. I think what it is like his 3D model makes the lips a lot more voluptuous, like he's had Botox or something, and it just makes him look a little bit less intimidating, in my personal opinion. But yeah, that 2D artwork of Gary Him looks pretty bad A. So make an amiibo of that. That'd be pretty cool. And also, while we're talking about Skyward Sword, Groose. I'm still kind of upset that Groose never got added as like a DLC character in the original Hyrule Warriors. That would have been a lot of fun. But yeah, Groose, he's a fan favorite character. People love him. He's kind of got a lot of that Gaston energy. So yeah, Groose, make an amiibo of him. Then also Tingle. If instead of the Triforce, if it was a pentagon, there were 5 sides. Tingle would be the 5th one. He's probably been the next most reincarnated character. Though he doesn't appear as much in recent games. But Tingle, there's a lot of people that don't like Tingle, especially in the West. Apparently, in America, a lot more people think he's creepy versus in Japan. But I don't know. I think Tingle's alright. I'm not going to say he's like my favorite Nintendo character ever. But I like Tingle. I'd buy a Tingle amiibo. I don't know. I grew up on Smash Brothers Melee as a kid when I was like 6 years old. That's like one of the most nostalgic games for me. And Tingle was like a stage hazard on the freaking the Great Bay stage. I think that's like one of the first stages you unlock. So I've got a lot of nostalgia for that. So Tingle, yeah, make an amiibo. He's fine. He's no Waluigi, but he's all right. And then moving on, we have Demise. I don't want him to do like his imprisoned form where he's just like this big rampaging like black thing with like no arms and like large toes that's just weird that you fight a million times and it's like the worst boss fight ever. I don't know what Nintendo was thinking with that, making you do it 3 times. But his actual more humanoid form that's closer to Ganondorf but not. I think that could be pretty cool. He's got all that flaming hair and stuff. So yeah, a Demise amiibo, that'd be pretty cool. And then also they could do Fi or Fi, however you pronounce it, Fo, Fum. But another Skyward Sword character. It's kind of your helper for that game. Not one of my favorite characters ever. She can be a little too handholdy. They made it better in the remake of Skyward Sword, and then she was also in Hyrule Warriors, but frankly, she was one of my least favorite characters to play as. I hate her moveset in Hyrule Warriors. But Fi, whatever. Sure, I'd probably buy an amiibo of her. And then you got Beetle, who, if there was a 6th part of the Triforce, if it was a hexagon, Beetle would have, arguably, he might be in more games now than Tingle, because they've just not been putting Tingle in a lot of recent games, but Beetle, he's in everything now. Beetle supremacy, hashtag, get it trending. Beetle's kind of a cool guy, he was first in Wind Waker. Most recently, he was in Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know which incarnation of Beetle they would want to go with. But, I don't know. Could have him. He's got his big Beetle backpack on, about to set up shop, saying, "Thank you." Yeah, make a Beetle amiibo. Why not, Nintendo? And then lastly, we have the Happy Mask Salesman. I love the Happy Mask Salesman. He's so creepy. He's so morally ambiguous. It's like, I guess he's a good guy because like he wants the mask back to stop, Skull Kid. Oh, I didn't have Skull Kid on this list. Skull Kid, people would shoot me for that. People love Skull Kid. They want him in Smash Brothers so bad. I'm not as big of a Skull Kid fan as some other people, but yeah, Skull Kid, making an amiibo of him too. Saying that now before I get absolutely obliterated in the comments. But yeah, he wants the mask back, and so I guess he's good because like he doesn't want the world to end. But at the same time, like when he finds out you don't have it, like he goes from just all smiley, happy, this kind of creepy smile to just like turns angry, and he like literally he manhandles a child. He's got Link by the neck, and he's like shaking this like 10-year-old boy around. It's like, geez Louise. Actually, I think Link, how old is he? Is he 10 or is he like 7 in Majora's Mask? I don't know. However old he is, very inappropriate to just pick up a child and wring their neck. So I don't know about the Happy Mask Salesman, but that's kind of why I love him. He's so creepy. You don't fully know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. He's also he's kind of a caricature of Miyamoto, which is hilarious. Yeah, I would absolutely love a Happy Mask Salesman amiibo. He's got his backpack on with the little Mario mask and the one that looks like Elvis or whatever that's supposed to be. Um, yeah, make it happen, Nintendo. So moving on, the next franchise we're going to talk about is Kid Icarus. We've got a few Kid Icarus amiibos, but really it's just Pit, who's the main protagonist, this angel boy, and then also Dark Pit, who is just an alternate color palette of Pit. Basically, he's the anti version. He's kind of like Shadow the Hedgehog, basically, but to Pit, kind of your anti-hero. He's kind of not good, but not bad either. He's kind of neutral. But yes, that's kind of whatever. Then they've got one of Palutena, and she's pretty cool. This goddess with green hair. But yeah, that's it. But Kid Icarus Uprising on the 3DS, it's my favorite 3DS game. Has such a good story, such good voice acting, such a good cast of characters. There's so many different ones they could go with, but personally, I would love so much to have a Hades amiibo. The Kid Icarus version of Hades is one of my favorite Nintendo characters. I'd love for him to get into Smash Brothers, and that's like my favorite depiction of Hades ever. He's got this sort of regal British accent, oh, pity pat, and he's always like really like patronizing to Pit, and he's a really funny character. Like he's humorous, but he's not comic relief. Even though he's like some of the stuff he says is so hysterically funny, he does it because it's like he's just like everything's just a game to him. Like he's just toying with everybody. So it's like he's not really comic relief because you're also like terrified of him because he's the Lord of the Underworld, and he has such a cool design. He has such a bad A character design. I love the way he looks. I love his voice. I love his personality. He's so eccentric and weird, but like also ruthlessly evil. And yeah, I would love a Hades amiibo. And you've also got other characters from the game like Viridi, Phosphora, Medusa, Pyron, Magnus, Thanatos. Probably a lot more I'm forgetting. What's her name? Pandora. But yeah, I mostly just want Hades. Moving on, the Kirby series. This is another series that has a lot of missed potential. We've only got like 4 amiibos. We've got Kirby, Meta Knight, King Dedede, and Waddle Dee. In most Kirby games, it's kind of like your 4 playable characters, like Return to Dreamland and Kirby Star Allies. But there's so many other characters in the Kirby universe. My personal number one, I'd love to see Marx. Marx is like my favorite villain from the Kirby series. He's the final boss of Kirby Superstar, and he's since cropped up he's playable in Kirby Star Allies and like the DLC. But then he was also a boss in Smash Brothers Ultimate, so that was really cool to see him come back for that. But yeah, I'd love an amiibo of Marx with like his wings spread out, where he's all like evil and stuff. He's kind of a cool, I love the trope of like an evil gesture character, like Dementio from Super Paper Mario, or like I've not really played what is the Undertale sequel, Deltarune, or maybe it's a prequel, whatever it is, before somebody corrects me. I know there's like a gesture character in that that you fight. There's a gesture villain in oh gosh, what's it called? The Namco series with he's like a oh my gosh, what's it? They got a remake, Klonoa. That's it. So yeah, that's always fun. But moving on, we've got some other great Kirby villains. Magalore would be like my number 2 favorite. He's been in a whole bunch of Kirby games. I'd love a Magalore amiibo. Galactonite, who was kind of a I don't know, I guess you could say like an alternate version of Meta Knight that you have to fight. It's kind of like Meta Knight's rival, I guess. And he's got a really cool design. Make an amiibo of him. Then you've got a bunch of other characters like Susie from Planet Robobot. You've got Taranza from Kirby Triple Deluxe. You got Adeline, DeRoach, Dark Matter, O2, Lololo, and Lalala, Bonkers, Knuckle Joe, Waddle Doo, Sir Kibble. There's any number of different Kirby villains you could go with. Wispy Woods has always been a mainstay. I don't know how well he would really adapt to an amiibo necessarily. He'd be very tall. Just a tree with a face. I don't know if I really need a Wispy Woods amiibo, or like a Krakow amiibo, which is like a cloud with an eyeball in the middle. But there's a lot of characters you could go with in the Kirby universe. Yeah, I would just like to see more Kirby amiibo. Also, we've got this 8-bit Mario. We've got an 8-bit NES Link amiibo. I'd like to see some more of those. So I think an 8-bit Kirby from like Kirby's Adventure, I think that would be really cool. I'd like to have that and add to my collection. Moving on, we've got the Pikmin series. I already talked about Alf, who is Olimar's alt in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. He's from Pikmin 3. Also in Pikmin 3 were Brittany and Charlie. That was your 3 playable characters, Alf, Brittany, and Charlie. I'd love an amiibo for all 3 of those, as well as Louie, who's kind of Olimar's right-hand guy, who's also kind of an idiot and also kind of bad. I don't know where Louis' affiliation is, to be completely honest. I don't know if he's pure evil or just a babbling idiot or some combination of both. But make an amiibo of all those characters. They could also do Ochi, kind of like Poochie. I'm not a big fan of the character, but they could make an amiibo of it if they wanted to. Yeah, they could even do like Olimar's like boss, who's playable in the second game. I don't remember his name, yeah, I'd love to see some more Pikmin amiibo besides just Olimar, and then an amiibo that's just like a bunch of the Pikmin on like a big rock or something. That's kind of boring. Get some more characters in there. Then we've got the ARMS series. We've got one of Min Min because she got put in Smash Brothers. I'm not the biggest fan of ARMS, but I really like the character designs in the game. I'd probably buy them. I'd probably collect all the different ARMS amiibo if they released a line of those. You got Springman, Ribbon Girl, you got Master Mummy, Ninjara, Twintail, Helix. Helix could be fun because he's like all gelatinous. So they could maybe make him out of the same material of like the squishy Metroid amiibo. That could be kind of fun. But yeah, there's a bunch of other characters. I don't know the names of all the ARMS characters. There was like the clown girl. There was Max Brass. I don't know. There was a lot of ridiculous, over the top characters, but they were cool. I like them. So make an amiibo of them. And then we've also got the Star Fox series. It's kind of surprising, as much as Miyamoto loves Star Fox, that we've not gotten an amiibo of like there's like Peppy Hair, there's Slippy Toad, Pigma. I think Pigma's pretty cool. He's like, you're gonna have a little fun. He almost kind of sounds like Muscle Man or something from Regular Show. Then there's Panther. I don't remember which game. Is he from like Star Fox? Maybe like Assault, or like, it's one of the games I've not played. I'll be honest, I've not played that many Star Fox games. But he seems kind of like a cool character. I think he's supposed to be like a womanizer or something. He's got like a rose or something that he has in his mouth, And then there's Andross, who's kind of like the main villain, the big bad. Maybe actually give him a body for the amiibo. I don't know if I want just like a giant floating head on a stand. That's a little weird with all my other amiibos. Crystal, she's kind of a foxy mama. Now I'm not a furry, but now Crystal, if any character was going to give me a furry awakening, it'd probably be her. So moving on, we got the Star Fox characters. Metroid. There's a decent number of Metroid amiibos at this point, but a lot of them are different variations of Samus and stuff. And we got like Ridley. We've got like the Emmy from Metroid Dread. We've got like an actual Metroid itself. Then there's like Zero Suit Samus and Dark Samus and all that. But I would really like to see Razorbeak was kind of a cool villain. I think that was his name for Metroid Dread. I'm not the biggest Metroid fan, but I loved Dread. And Razorbeak was a really, really cool villain. I think I like him a lot better than Silux, but if they want to make an amiibo of Silux too, that'd be cool with Metroid Prime 4 coming out. Yeah, and then also Kraid. I think Kraid could make a pretty cool amiibo. Put him on the shelf right next to Ridley. Obviously, they'd have to shrink him down, but if Ridley wasn't too big, then Kraid shouldn't be either. So, do it. And then we got I got down some miscellaneous ones here. We've got the male version of the Wii Fit trainer. We kind of talked about that. Also, like the trainee or whatever from Ring Fit Adventure. I could see them doing an amiibo with that. Or like what was the ripped guy? that was like the main villain of that game. It was like the dragon guy. I never actually played it, but he could make kind of a fun amiibo uh, character. What was his name? Was it like Drago or something? I forget his name, but they could do him. They could do any number of Pokemon characters. I know the Pokemon Company is kind of weird and protective with their IP, but like I don't know. I feel like Eevee is kind of a fan favorite. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Pokemon declared this year the year of Eevee. You know, there was that Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee back in 2018. I could see Eevee getting into Smash Brothers. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it would make the most sense to do an Eevee amiibo, and then, I don't know, they could do, like, Meowth, that could be cool. They could do, like, Team Rocket if they want to. I know Jesse and James is kind of more from, like, the anime, but aren't they in, like, the first Pokemon game? So, I don't know. I'm not the biggest Pokemon guy, but there's an infinite amount of possibility there for characters they could make into an amiibo. It's like, what, like 900 of them at this point? I don't even know. Um, and then they could also do Elma from Xenoblade Chronicles X. I think that's inevitable because, like, all of the other Xenoblade games have gotten amiibos. You know, I guess Xenoblade 2 didn't get, like, a Rex amiibo, did it? But, like, Pyra and Mithra, they got an amiibo after they got put in Smash Brothers. And then I know for Xenoblade 3, I haven't played that game. I think the main protagonist, is their name like Noah or something? I think Noah and maybe a couple other characters got amiibos, like maybe a year or so after that game came out. So, you know, Elma, she's not like the character you play as. You play as like your own like customizable character in that game, I'm pretty sure. But she does seem to be kind of like the main one. So, you know, if a Xenoblade X rep gets into Smash, I imagine it's going to be her. But yeah, I just think she would make a lot of sense as an amiibo. And yeah, also kind of like Arms. I'm not like the biggest fan of this franchise, but the characters are pretty cool. I'd probably collect a bunch of them. But you could have all the different boxers in Punch Out. You know, then you could also have Doc Lewis, who's like your coach. Um, so that could be kind of fun. You know, and he's black, so that would be, you know, kind of more representation. So, you know, that's cool. Um, and then all the other fighters, you got like friggin' Bald Bull. Is that the name of one of them? And then you got like Glass Joe and King Hippo. And imagine if they made a Mike Tyson amiibo. That's never going to happen. They could do Mr. Dream or whatever. I can't think of all the other fighters. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Punch Out guy, but I think those could be fun. I'd probably get a decent number of those. Imagine if the King Hippo one, if you could actually like, pull his pants down. Anyway, but yeah, so I think that could be fun doing all of the different Punch Out characters. And then also, I've got down here a list of third-party characters. So we've got the hero from Dragon Quest XI was in Smash Brothers, as well as some other incarnations of like the hero from different Dragon Quest games. Going back to what we were talking about alts though, we only got the amiibo of like the Dragon Quest XI protagonist. I think it would be cool to have like the one from 8, and then they could do like some of the other ones. Like I think Dragon Quest V is maybe a fan favorite game. I've not played that one yet myself, but I mean they could do all of them if they wanted to. Dragon Quest is huge in Japan. Maybe make them not as widely available in America because maybe they wouldn't sell as well here, but make a bunch of Japanese ones, and I could buy a Japanese one off of eBay that's slightly a little bit more expensive, but not like super high. You know, I think that could be pretty cool. I have like Erdrick, is he the first one? I think they could even do a slime amiibo if they wanted to. It's kind of like the mascot character. Yeah, and Eric from Dragon Quest XI, he was a cool character, and then he also got his own spin-off game where he's like a kid. He'd be a pretty cool amiibo, or like some of the other characters in that game. What's the name of that one guy that's kind of flamboyant? Silvando, I think was his name. Yeah, so Dragon Quest, there's a lot of stuff you could do there. And then also third-party character-wise, it's kind of funny. I made this list before they announced they're coming out with some new Street Fighter amiibos. These ones aren't included, so they still work to have on this list. But they could do like Chun-Li. She's a really iconic character. I could see her maybe getting into the next Smash Brothers game. In Smash Wii U and 3DS, we got Ryu, and then in the next game we got Ken. So for the next Smash Brothers game, why not put Chun Li in there? She's popular enough, you know. Probably one of the most prolific female characters in gaming, I would say. Um, but yeah, then you got yeah, you got Zangief and M Bison. I feel like they're another couple of pretty important Street Fighter characters. I've also got Shantae on here because Nintendo has done like indie character amiibos like they did for Shovel Knight. Got like a whole line with like 4 different characters. People would love a Shantae amiibo. That would sell really well. I'd like to have that. She's kind of an Arabian character, so again, that's just kind of more cultural representation. So cool. I'm not like a proponent of like DEI necessarily and think everything has to be like equally represented, but like I'm not gonna like snub my nose at something having different cultures and call it woke. I think it's cool, you know, to have more non-white amiibo on my shelf. I'm all for it. So get Shantae and amiibo. Put her in Smash Brothers too. I think she deserves it more than Shovel Knight if you're gonna put any indie character in there. Shantae's been around since like the Game Boy in like 2001. She's kind of like the OG indie character, really, and kind of I guess Way Forward. I guess you would say their flagship character, right? I don't know who else Way Forward has that's more prominent. But Bomberman, he was at least in Smash Brothers as like which I think Shantae got like a me costume and maybe like one song. Bomberman got like an assist trophy. They both deserve better, but a Bomberman, he's been around since like the 80s. He's a Konami character. So yeah, Bomberman amiibo, that'd be really cool. I've never played a lot of the Bomberman games. My experience with Bomberman is very limited, but I love his design. He's just a great mascot character. I'd like to have a Bomberman amiibo. Then you've also got characters like Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Dr. Eggman, obviously from Sonic. Maybe someday some of those characters get into Smash, but either way, that'd make pretty cool amiibos. I don't feel like there's as much of a need like for Knuckles and Tails because I do have figurines of them on that shelf behind me. There was this line called Totaku, which are basically almost the exact same size, like the same dimensions as Amiibo. They're just not Toys to Life figurines. They can't get scanned into games or anything. But yeah, so I have one of Tails and one of Knuckles. Not a Shadow one though. But if they wanted to make Amiibos of those characters, that'd be pretty cool. Then you got like Crash and Spyro. Again, though, I have Totaku figures of them. I'd love for Crash and Spyro to get into Smash so badly, though. And then I probably would feel crippling obligation to buy their amiibos, even though I already have those Totakus of them. And then Rayman. I want Rayman in Smash so bad. It would be very tricky to make a figurine of him, but it's not impossible. I do have a Rayman figurine back there by U2's. I don't know if it's visible really on camera. I need more shelf space. I think it might be tucked behind some of my other figurines back there. Same with like Cuphead and Mugman, but they would also make pretty sick amiibo. Um, Miss Pac-Man, it's probably never going to happen because there's all these weird legal issues around Miss Pac-Man. But I'd love a Miss Pac-Man amiibo, and I'd love her to get into Smash Brothers, but it probably ain't going to happen. But Miss Pac, she's like as far as I know, I think like the first playable female video game character. I once had an ex-girlfriend I dated. She was like obsessed with Tomb Raider. Lara Croft, that'd be another cool one too. But she was really into Tomb Raider, and she was trying to tell me like, yeah, Lara Croft, she was like the first playable female character. I was like, woman, she was not. She was predated by Miss Pac-Man by about 15 years, and then probably like 10 years before her, you had Samus. So no, she was not one of the first female video game characters you could play as. But anyway, going off of Miss Pac-Man, I'd love to see a line of just a bunch of like Namco, like arcade characters. Do like a Dig Dug amiibo, Frogger. Well, Frogger's not Namco, but I've got them down on this list. And also Qbert. I don't know who owns Qbert. But then like Mappy. They could do like a Galaga one. And then also Ukulele, Platonic Games. That could be kind of cool. We've got a Banjo-Kazooie amiibo. Ukulele, the first game kind of came out to mixed reception. Impossible Lair, everybody really loved that one. And I think that the remake of Ukulele that they're doing looks awesome, so I'm really looking forward to that and whatever they plan to do in the future. So, yeah, Ukulele amiibo, that'd be pretty cool. And then also Rasputin from Psychonauts. I have looked, and there is not a lot of Psychonauts merch out there, like at all. I'd love to own a Rasputin. Psychonauts, those games are so good. They need to come to the Switch so bad. Microsoft, please put them on. Put Psychonauts 1, put it on the Switch 1, and Psychonauts 2, put it on the Switch 2. Because that you could probably get Psychonauts 2 to run on the Switch 1, but it would take a lot of work and it would be a very compromised version. But Switch 2, put it on there. Such a good game. Oh my god. Rasputin, rah rah Rasputin. He's voiced by um, oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name. He did Zim from Invader Zim. He did Billy from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Richard Stephen Horvitz, that's his name. Um, I love that guy's voice work. Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everybody on this very, very long list of characters. I got just off the top of my head some of the baby characters from Mario, like Baby Mario, Baby Luigi. That's kind of cute. You know, it's kind of the same character, but it's kind of different. So like, I don't know, Baby Peach, Baby Daisy. They could have a whole line of baby characters. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that probably collect them all. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think just off the top of my head. Is there anybody else? My favorite game of all time is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, but I don't know if the Paper Mario characters would really lend themselves to amiibo figures that well. Like, you know, as much as I would love to have like a figurine of like Koops and Goombella and, you know, all these other Admiral Bobbery, Flavio, all these other characters in that game, it's probably not going to happen. Um, so I don't know. It'd probably be like Mr. Game and Watch, which is like one of my least favorite amiibo in my collection, to be honest. Even though I do like how they give you options, you can kind of switch out his pose. There's like 4 different poses you can slot in there, but still, it's just kind of whatever. But yeah, something I always thought would be really cool, like back in like 2015, they came out with like the Me amiibos. It's like the Me Gunner, the Me Sword Fighter, and then the Me Brawler. Um, they just kind of have generic like default, you know, resting me faces. Um, I think it would have been such a cool idea, and they could still do it. I don't think they will though. This is never going to happen. Um, but if you could like custom order them the way that you can go online and order like, you know, custom like Oreo designs for special events, or like custom M&Ms, or like, you know, custom T-shirts. You go online to the like My Nintendo website or whatever, the My Nintendo store, and there's like a little digital me creator, the way like you'd customize like a virtual pizza before you order it from Papa John's or something. You know, you customize the me with the eyes that you want and all that. Maybe even put like the name, and they can like engrave the name on the amiibo stand, and then they 3D print it, and then they ship it to you. It'd be kind of maybe more expensive than your average amiibo, but I think that could be so cool. Um, Maybe if they want to limit it to like one per person or something, that way they can, you know, get one out to everybody who wants one. But I don't know. I think that would be a lot of fun. I could see how it could maybe be a little problematic, but you know, Nintendo, they could deny at their discretion, like refund people and be like, no, we cannot make you a Hitler amiibo. But I don't know. I think it could be a lot of fun. Get like an amiibo created in like my likeness or something. Like, you know, everybody get their own little figurine that looks like them. That'd be cute. You know, because not all of us are going to be successful enough YouTubers that we can get our own merch line. Uh, but but yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. But with that, I think that's pretty much every character I can think of. Um, but yeah, so Amiibo, they seem to be here to stay. I know a lot of people have been complaining about the price. I think there might have been news on that. Let me actually just check real quick right now, live in real time. I'm going to go to. I'm going to Google real quick and just look up, like, say, the Tulin Amiibo. See what the price is showing. Because I think. Okay, yeah, it's still showing on, like, retailers it being, like, $30. I thought I heard something about that. Maybe that was. That it was going to be different than that or something. But people were upset because it looks like they've marked up the price of Amiibo again. When they first came out, you know, back on the Wii U and 3DS, they were like $12.99 a pop. Pretty reasonable, I think. But they were also kind of more cheaply made. And then, you know, going into the Switch era, they got a little bit more expensive, and it was like $15.99. So a few dollars increase, but nothing crazy. But the quality of the build definitely went up quite a bit. Like this King K. Rool one here, a lot more attention to detail went into him. He got kind of the reflective belly there, and then he's got kind of like all the little scales on him. So they were more expensive, but I think the quality went up, so it was worth the price increase. But now they're doing like almost like a double price increase. I don't know how much of it's tariffs or what. Um, Maybe it's a combination of tariffs and Nintendo's greed. Because considering they raised the price from Wii U to Switch, I'm not surprised that we're getting another price increase, now $30, which some people are like, that is outrageous. There's no way I'm going to pay for that. And then the Street Fighter 6 ones, I think they're going to be like 40 smackaroos, which is crazy. Let me Google that real quick, too. From what I can tell, it looks like I'm still seeing $30. If that is a placeholder price for the Zelda ones, that's not been updated as far as I can tell. Let's see. Street Fighter 6 Amiibo. Yeah, those are also being listed as 40, which is kind of like crazy. So we'll see how well those do. But at the same time, though, like if you're an avid Amiibo collector like me, you know that a lot of times they get bought up by scalpers and go get auctioned off on eBay, especially the rarer ones for like, in some cases 60, 80, $100 or more if it's a really rare one. But Nintendo, they've done better in recent years about keeping enough in stock for people to get them at a normal price. So there is demand. There are people out there who will pay, exorbitant prices to get these amiibos. So I don't know if this price increase will necessarily deter them. Part of me, maybe that's just being really optimistic. Part of me is hoping that maybe it'll make the average amiibo a little bit cheaper to get, because if not as many people do buy them because they're more expensive, maybe they'll be more readily available on store shelves, and maybe you won't have to, auction for one on eBay and pay an arm and a leg for it. I don't know. Yeah, so we've talked about the amiibos themselves that I'd like to see. We've talked about the price increase. All that really leaves is the functionality, and to be honest, I'm not really expecting a lot on that front. I know people used to kind of want like a whole game that was kind of like a Skylanders type game where you use all of your different figurines and stuff, and each one unlocks like new levels and playable characters and all this stuff. But I don't think Nintendo is interested in that. I don't know if they ever really were, and if they were, I think the time for that is kind of past. Nintendo would have done a game like that a decade ago if they had wanted to. So I don't really see that happening. They're probably just going to continue to be like little cosmetic things here and there. The next Smash Brothers game, they're probably once again just going to be a thing where you can like train them, level them up and then watch them fight each other like a ethical version of a cockfight. um, and then I don't. So far, we've not seen whether Mii characters are going to be back in Mario Kart World. I sure hope they are, because you had all kinds of cool like third-party amiibos that you could scan in and dress up your Mii like that character. This is my Pac-Man amiibo. This is one of my favorites. I love Pac-Man so much. I would take a bullet for this yellow circle. I love him. Sorry, I just violated you there, Pac-Man. I should ask for consent first, but kind of tastes like a lemon head. Ooh. But anyway. So yeah, I would love to see, more cosmetics at the very least. So stuff like, in Mario Kart. Well, because Pac-Man, he had an awesome one where it was like you had the, because Pac-Man, obviously, he wasn't a playable racer in Mario Kart. But to have on the back of your Mii character's helmet, it would be just like a, 8-bit pixelated Pac-Man. It was like a GIF, basically, just chomping. There was like a virtual screen on the back of your helmet. So that was awesome. And then there was like this pattern on the uniform that was like the blue like maze, with like the black background. And then I think like Blinky, the red ghost, was like on your Mii character's back. There was like a Sonic one where you've got like a Sonic helmet with the spiked quills. There was a Kirby one where it's just Kirby's head looking back at you. There were so many cool ones like that, costumes representing other series, both ones owned by Nintendo and just third-party ones. Mega Man. So I would love to see that continue in the next Mario Kart game. Will it? I don't know. Kind of doubt it, but yeah, at the very least, I love when Amiibo have cosmetic, unlockables like that. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get a full-blown Amiibo game. Nintendo said that they're not ruling out the possibility of doing like a HD port of or a port of Wind Waker HD, even though that Wind Waker is going to be coming to the Switch 2 NSO GameCube thing or whatever. But I was kind of thinking, like, what could Nintendo do this time to replace? Because Wind Waker's just got a history of having cursed features that can't get brought back. So, like, they had the Tingle Tuner on the GameCube where you'd like hook up with the GBA. You can't really do that anymore. And then on the Wii U, they had like the Miiverse message in a bottle thing, but Miiverse is shut down, so they can't bring that back. So I got to thinking, like, well, what new feature could they add to replace that for like what Tingle's role is, what he gives you when you free him from the cage on Windfall Island, I think it is, in Wind Waker. And I got to thinking, what if they integrated Amiibo? Because like they have this whole thing that seems like a wasted opportunity, what they call like the Nintendo Trophy Gallery or something like that, where you like take pictures of things in game, and it makes like a little figurine like of all the different like characters, like the enemies and bosses and stuff, and you can see them at a like on display, like in your little virtual collection. But it's called the Nintendo Character Gallery, and it's only Zelda characters though. So if you could scan amiibos, and then it's like you get a figurine of like Mario or Luigi or whoever to like show up in your Nintendo gallery, I think that would be a cool idea. But beyond that, I really don't think I have much else in the ways of like predictions or ideas for what Nintendo might do for Amiibo in the future in terms of like their actual like in-game integration. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'd love to be pleasantly surprised. And it's like, oh wow, Amiibo have this huge new, like they're really important now, and there is a whole game that's all about scanning in these different Amiibos, and it unlocks all this crazy stuff, like Skylanders or Disney Infinity. But I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, most games it's probably just going to be you scan it 3 times a day or once a day, and you unlock some extra, a couple of little materials for your character, But at the end of the day, I like collecting these just for the collectability purposes. I'm not that interested in. I mean, it would be cool, if you give me more reason to scan them into my games. But at the end of the day, I buy Amiibos just because I like displaying them on my shelf. And I should say Amiibo, not Amiibos, because the plural, there's no S plural. It's Amiibo. Sometimes I've been back and forth on that, but I own 110 Amiibo. Not Amiibos, Amiibo. It's very important, okay? Remember that. It's going to be on the test. But yeah, with all that said, I think that's going to be a wrap. So thank you guys so very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. And yeah, let me know down in the comments what characters would you most like to see get their own Amiibo? What ideas do you have for a game? How it could integrate Amiibo in a unique way that we've never seen before. Be sure to let me know. I know when Captain Toad Treasure Tracker first came out and they said that game would have Amiibo support, what we ended up getting was so lame. It was just like this hide and seek thing where you find Toad in the level. But I thought, like, what if each Amiibo unlocked like a new level, that's just like a 3D diorama themed specifically around that character. It's like a Link one, like you scan it and it unlocks like a little Zelda room, and it's like a little dungeon puzzle, especially since there have been interviews where they've talked about how Captain Toad, it started off, it was kind of like a Zelda spin-off thing where it was like these little micro dungeons in the 3D diorama. That didn't happen, but it would have been cool. This Scan the Donkey Kong one, they've got a little jungle themed level where you got to go through. But we didn't get that. Maybe someday. I'm not counting on it though. But let me know what Amiibo features you'd like to see in the future. And with all that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.